Hey, you guys, there's a session going on next door here. RS1 is playing, so they're pretty close in proximity. If you hear some music, hopefully I can overtalk it. I have my microphone on, so it should be okay. Um, I thought I would make this video 10 common questions asked by new audiophiles. And I thought it would be a cool little subject on my channel. This is just my take on it. This is in no formal way expertise or trying to tell you what to do. This is just how I look at it, and based on my own experiences. So let's dig into it. Um, One, do expensive loudspeakers really sound better? Um, no, no. I don't think it's really indicative, especially today anymore, on price. You don't need a super expensive loudspeaker to have good sound. I really don't think that. Um, a nice example here. These speakers were MSRP back in the day, $5,000, 4,500, depending on the finish. Then you have the RS1, was an MSRP speaker of $8,000, and then I have a speaker there that was MSRP $1,000, the KG 5.5. Now, the KG 5.5 in my main room did not sound good at all, but in my small den, they sound phenomenal. So your ears don't really care about price. Your ears don't care about brand. It's more of an ego and a wallet size thing than anything else. Your wallet does care. Your ego does care. That's what I always say. With your ears, they don't hear how much a speaker has, been price tagged at. So no, I don't agree with that. Let's see. Two, how much should I spend on an amplifier? That depends on the speaker you're going to play with. Now, speakers today, most of them, not all, there's still brands out there that do ridiculously, in my opinion, pretty bad designs. When you have a speaker that goes down to about, 84, 83 dB, I wouldn't even bother buying those. There's too many other good speakers out there to just focus on that one little speaker that supposedly needs to give you the gold. But if you have a pretty efficient speaker, you don't have to overthink this idea. You don't need 600 watt huge amplifiers, special branded amplifiers to make that sound good. So what would I spend? I think the old formula of an X amount percentage goes to amplifier, X amount goes to speakers. I don't think that's no longer valid either. Really, I would go for something that you're comfortably spending on. So if you have a budget of $1,000, stay within that range. You don't have to go through a crazy amount of money um, to get a good amplifier. I really don't think so. Today we figured this shit out, right? So, do speaker cables make a difference? Number three. This is, of course, the dead beaten horse we get anywhere. And my stance has kind of changed a little bit to the point of you want to spend thousands of dollars on expensive cables and you hear that difference, good for you. I'm not that person. I'm not in that. Maybe my hearing is not good, which is probably the case. Maybe my system is pure shit in your eyes. That's fine too. I wouldn't spend too much on it. A normal industrial wire will do just fine. Speaker wires shouldn't be crazy expensive. You can buy them any sizes, colors, and thicknesses, and you can even make them yourself if you want to. If you really hell bent on it, buy yourself a roll and start braiding some cable. If it really, but for me, do speaker cables make a difference? Well, yeah, especially in your wallet. I will not deny that there's cables out there that have these magic boxes on there with little inductors and resistors in there just to notch filter stuff. That indeed makes a difference because there's a physical thing going on there. But other than that, copper is copper, silver is silver. I mean, it is what it is. There's always a bottleneck in between somewhere. So, yeah. Number four, should I buy vintage or modern equipment? I think I addressed that in another video. If you don't know, look up my previous videos. I've already said this. New guys stick with new. And the whole reason behind that is you're new at this. You don't know if you're going to like this hobby. You have your warranties. You have your return policies. And with vintage, you really got to know what to buy, especially today. The market is super inflated. Anything that gets stamped vintage, all of a sudden goes up in price by the sellers. Doesn't mean that you buy something good. There's a big difference. So for new guys, I would totally advise you, no, avoid vintage if you can. For the older guys, it's a little bit different because they have, they kind of know the brands. They kind of know what to look for. They kind of know what to expect. And with vintage, it comes with its own downsides. Yes, you can buy something really nice for very little. but you also have to consider the maintenance on them and what state it's in. It had multiple owners. You have no warranties really. Something breaks down, it's on you to fix it or get someone on it and start, doing the work. So it's consideration. 5, what is more important, speakers or the amplifier? Now this is always like the chicken and the egg debate, really. In my opinion, speakers followed by room acoustics is key. Amplifiers, yes, of course, it's an important building block in your system. But I also know that a lot of people tend to go for an over-the-top amplifier where it's not really needed. When you have a clip like my 5.5, as an example, that has a 98 dB sensitivity, I'm running that thing with literally a couple watts of tube amplification that cost me $400, and it sounds beautiful. So yeah, there you have it again, right? It's the chicken and the egg. It really depends on what you really think for yourself there. If you feel like I have to spend thousands of dollars on this to get a better result, that's great. But in my opinion, speakers and your room is where the things start to really come together. Um, do I need an external DAC? Normally, I would say no. We have done blind tests for years, years. We had various equipment from very expensive DACs to very cheap. I'm not talking about just two people. We have done it through forums as well and audio meets back in the day. And so far, nobody really can distinct their own external DAC from, say, a cheaper DAC that was out there playing. That being said, if you got the money and you want to spend it on, it's kind of what I get with the other stuff here. If you have the money for it, you want to go expensive, go for it. I wouldn't knock you for it. I mean, why? See, it's just your own choice. I'm using the internal DAC of this XA20ES. I never felt like, oh, I'm now going to buy an expensive DAC and I'm going to up my game there. Then I have people telling me, but some DACs do sound differently, a little bit warmer or a little bit more rolled off and a little bit more, whatever. I'm like, well, you can buy a DSP for probably less and you can get way more out of it. If you really want that type of tunability and that type of versatility, buy a DSP. I mean, for $100 or $200, you're done. That's just me though. So do I need an external DAC? I would say no. Okay, so what is number 7? And remember, these are questions asked, the most common 10 by new audiophiles. What is warm or bright sound? It's actually a good question. Warm, it's very simple. Warm in the mid-range is usually where warm is being determined. So we're talking about a lush, full, non-invasive vocal quality to your mid-range, right? Then we have bright. That's usually where you start to go into the upper treble, where something sounds too bright. There is a difference between bright and harsh. Usually those two get confused. Oh, it was so harsh. No, it's not harsh. Your ears are not beeping. Your ears are not, that tinnitus, feel. Bright, it's more like when it sounds more forward. It sounds super articulated, super defined, high resolution sounding, but it's too bright. It's a little bit too bright. That's the difference there. It's a good question. Really good question. I would say there's no better or worse. It's more of how my ears are. Not everybody hears very high up. People always have this self-perceived of, I hear to 70K. Most adults do not come close to that. It's bullshit. Also, hearing tests, legal hearing tests gets only performed up to 6,000 hertz to maybe 8,000 hertz. That's about it. It's really, that's where it lays. So when you already hear 12K, 13K, 14, 15K, you still hear pretty darn well. I mean, if you don't believe me, if you have a hearing of 15,000 hertz, you should very simply put on a test tone that is like an insane frequency, right? Most music doesn't live there. So don't overthink this. Yeah, warm or bright, that's the difference there for me. All right, so number 8, how should I position my speakers? And that's always a very good question. You should position them that really adheres to a certain basics. And it's mind-blowing to me how many audio guys do not get this right at all. And it's not about that I have perfectly placed stuff, but where you have a room and that you actually have to sacrifice a good bit of your room. People tend to forget that when they buy this stuff. You see them cramped in corners, cramped against back walls. You see even people stacking speakers. I find it horrendous. I cannot take you serious when you do shit like that. But okay, that's your prerogative. A lot of excuses. My wife, yeah, my kids, yeah, my dog. You bought a system. This is your biggest game changer, guys. And I think the older guys can tell you that here too. This is your biggest game changer. Try to get them at least 3 or 4 feet away from back walls. Try to get them freer from the walls. What I also don't agree with is where people have them in the middle of the fucking room, pretending that this box is like loading the whole room, even a half, even being 2 or 3 feet away from a side wall. That's not true either. These boxes do resonate, but a good built speaker is not that serious either. Also, I measure, and this is something that might save you a little bit there on space, I measure from the front of the driver to the back of the wall. I'm not going from the back of the speaker to the back of the wall, because that's still, this speaker, as you can tell here in the back, it's a very deep speaker in this case. Then it becomes indicative to how deep my speaker is, right? It doesn't make sense to me. Go from the driver. It's the same when you go from the side wall, go from the center of the driver and measure out about a couple of feet. Then you're good to go. Toe in also, depending on what type of frequency, high frequency drivers you have, like planar drivers are very directional, RS1 for you. Then you have to just, toe them in a little bit more. So there you have that, right? So that's how I do it. Then number 9, do I need a subwoofer for music? Another video that I did. A well-integrated subwoofer will always work with a system. Well, always. 9 out of 10 times will work in your benefit. However, a lot of people don't know how to integrate a subwoofer properly. They run their floor standards or their speakers on full range as they're running, and then they add a sub to it. What you should do is really cut off the low end of your normal passive speaker and let the subwoofer do that heavier work. A subwoofer is inherently better, an active subwoofer is inherently better at producing low end, lower octave than your passive speaker does. That is really what you also see in the higher end echelon speakers. A lot of these speakers have a separate cap for low end and or a DSP controlled low end. Why? Because that is actually more superior to a passive counterpart that you have over here. Remember, a loudspeaker that works completely passively, it's more of a golden mid standard. It's not the gold standard, right? So I feel that's where people go wrong. They misunderstand that. So when you add a sub, well, you say your speakers go down to 40 hertz. Now you're adding a subwoofer and you cross it off at 40, because that's where most subwoofers kind of start at, is 40 and below. They don't go much lower. Some go 30, but it's around that crossover point. You will get a summation of both of them in your room, and it's like, hey, it's boomy. It sounds like shit. Yeah, no shit, because you didn't cut this off. It's you gotta take that sacrifice of cut this speaker off of wherever you feel that this speaker is kind of weaker, and let the subwoofer do it. Then you have a good integration going on. So yes, do I need a subwoofer for music? No, it's not always necessary. Can it benefit? Can it be beneficiary to the whole system? Absolutely, I do believe that. Then let's see. What's the biggest mistake beginners make? And that's one that I feel very strongly about, what I'm going to tell you. And again, guys, before you start typing and rage typing, this is my opinion about this stuff, is that people start chasing equipment faults versus proper speaker placement. That brings me back to speaker placement. Guys, I understand that we all have limitations in our room. This room is not big either. We all have those limitations. It's a limitation you can't go around with, but you can work with it. So what you see happening, man, it's kind of, it's not really sounding as I thought it would. I think I need a new CD player. I think I need a better amplifier. I think I need a better preamp. Maybe I should consider a bigger or a better turntable. Guys, before you do shit like that, before you start chasing that, work on your speaker placement. A couple of inches can already make a difference, a massive difference in what you're perceiving in your listening spot. Okay? To me, speaker placement with room acoustics is where you get the best improvements in any system, hands down. And that's also based on the fact when you look around, there's so many systems out there that are, I'm sorry, they're just not set up right. And you can tell, right? I just commented on a picture again where somebody has a loudspeaker flat against the wall. One is this high, the other one is this high. And then the system is in between. Why? Why did you do that? Well, there's a little corner there and I got some plants there. Fuck your plants. Put it equal. Put it away from the walls. Toe it in a little bit. Go a little bit in. Go a little bit out. Experiment with this. Once you start to find that sweet spot, you'll know. You'll know immediately. And I think a lot of older guys here will tell you the same thing. As soon as you get that sweet spot, then you understand what we're talking about. So guys, this was the 10, the 10 common questions asked by new audiophiles. It's still a 15-minute video. I know if you made it this far, I appreciate that. Comment below, subscribe. Thanks for watching. You know, I think these are cool videos. I think it's very valid that, you know, that now we have internet, we can communicate this way. And let me know how you feel about it. Thanks for watching.